What do you love most about this time of the year, when everything is just beginning to bud and blossom and the air is filled with birdsong and the sweet scents of spring? I don't know about you, but one of the things I really love about this time of year, especially in Scotland, is seeing all the bluebells and the daffodils and the cute baby lambs. Hello everyone, I'm Kathleen Pelly. Welcome to the special omnibus edition of Journey with Story, where we are offering you all of this month's episodes in one place. One of the many things I love about good stories is that they can help you love the world a little more, help you see what is important about this life, and help you to be grateful for all the beauty that surrounds us. Oh, mums and dads and grown-ups, when I go to schools to talk about the importance of reading aloud to our children, I like to share this beautiful African proverb with parents and teachers. What we teach a child to love is more important than what we teach a child to learn. Thanks to all of you who are teaching your children to love stories. For this love of stories, I believe, helps our little ones to live life more joyfully, compassionately, and creatively. Now, let's take an omnibus journey with story. Now, let's take a journey with Masha's Awful Pillow. Mother put her daughter Masha to bed, tucked her in, turned off the light, and left the room. Masha lay there for a while, but she could not fall asleep. First, she felt hot. Then the bed seemed hard. And besides, her pillow was too big and bulky. Masha became angry. She pummeled the pillow, grumbling, "Oh, you awful hot, lumpy thing!" Then she began kicking her blanket until it landed on the floor. "Get off me, you heavy, scratchy old thing!" Masha slid off the bed and stamped her foot. "I hate this bed, and I don't want to sleep. Sleeping is so dull." She stuck her feet into her slippers and tiptoed out of the room. It was quiet in her mother's room. Masha stood there listening for a while. Then she went over to the outside door and down the porch steps. What fun it was not to be sleeping. She skipped down the path. The dog stuck his head out of his kennel and growled, "Grrr, who's there?" "It's me, Masha." "Why aren't you asleep? It's very late." "I can't sleep in my awful bed. I'm mad at it. I won't ever sleep in it again." "Right you are," the dog said. "There's nothing like a kennel for a good night's sleep. There's soft, fresh hay to lie on, and the minute you curl up, you'll have wonderful dreams. Come on in." "Oh, what fun!" The dog got out to make room for her. Masha dropped to her knees and crawled in. She tried to curl up, but it wasn't comfortable at all. It was stuffy and hard. Then the dog stuck his head inside. He had a bone in his mouth. "Here, this is for you. It will make your dreams delicious." "Thank you," Masha said, crawling back out. "I think you have a very nice house, but I don't feel like sleeping in it." "Aren't you choosy?" The dog sounded hurt. Masha ran off towards the chicken coop to see if Speckled Hen had laid a speckled egg for her. The minute she opened the door, Peter Cockerel ruffled his feathers, turned his head this way and that, and said, "What do you want?" in a very stern voice. "I've come to ask whether Speckled Hen has laid a speckled egg for me." "Can't you be more patient?" He sounded really angry. "The hens lay white eggs. Speckled eggs are very rare. Go on back to bed." "I can't." "Why not?" "I'm mad at my bed. It's hot and lumpy." "Well, I agree. There's nothing like a good perch for a good night's rest. We snuggle close together and keep each other warm. Come on up." Masha finally managed to climb up onto the perch. She sat there all hunched up, with a hen warming her on one side and Peter Cockerel warming her on the other. It was really nice. But the moment Masha closed her eyes, she tumbled off the perch. It was a good thing there was some straw below, and she did not get hurt. She rushed out of the chicken coop and ran back to the house. But she didn't go inside. She sat down on the porch steps. A bird flew by and landed with a plop on her lap. It was a funny-looking bird. "Hello, who are you?" "I'm a bat. I sleep in your attic in the daytime and fly about at night." "Why aren't you sleeping?" "My bed isn't comfortable." "Oh, that's too bad. Would you like me to help you?" "Yes." "Then follow me up to the attic." The bat flapped its wings and sailed into the attic through a small window. Masha climbed up the wooden ladder after it. "Here's my bedroom." "But where's your bed?" "That's just it," the bat said and laughed. "I don't need the bed. I get right up onto the rafters, grab hold of that big nail, and hang there upside down. Come on up, I'll let you have my special nail." Masha remembered the way she had tumbled off the perch in the chicken coop and rubbed her sore knee. "How will I ever be able to sleep upside down?" she wondered. "I'll certainly follow my head, and this attic is awfully musty." "Well," said the bat. Masha did not reply. She was already climbing slowly down the shaky ladder. Then she crawled through a hole in the fence and headed towards the pond. The frogs stopped croaking in fright. Splash! They went into the water. Old Heron flapped her wings in fright, but when she saw it was only a little girl, she calmed down. "Why are you tramping about here, scaring my frogs?" "I'm not sleepy." Heron coughed, and you could tell she had a cold. "I thought just old ladies like me can't sleep at night. It's my rheumatism from all this dampness. What's bothering you?" "Nothing," Masha said uncomfortably. It's just awfully dull to go to bed every night." "Yes, I know that. Well, then, come on into the reeds over here and we'll be friends. I'll treat you to a frog, and then you can stand on one leg in the mud next to me. I'll cover you with my wing." "Oh, I'm scared of frogs," Masha whimpered. "And the water's wet. I don't want to sleep in your house at all." "Cry, baby," Heron said angrily. "Then go away. There's enough dampness here without your tears." Masha turned back to the house. "A pond's an awfully cold and wet place to sleep in," she thought. "Wouldn't it be lovely to be in bed now, under a nice warm blanket? And it's not scratchy at all. It's really a lovely blanket. And my pillow's so soft." Masha reached the house and tiptoed into her room. She picked the blanket up off the floor, smoothed her pillow, and hopped into her warm bed. Then she yawned and said, "Oh, I don't think anyone in the whole world has a nicer bed than me." Let's take a journey with The Quest for Cleverness. Once, long ago, there lived a king who had a stupid son. His father sent him to school for many years, hoping that he might learn something there. His teachers all gave him up as hopelessly stupid, and with one accord they said, "It is no use trying to teach this lad out of books. It's just a waste of our valuable time." At length, the king called together all the wisest men of his kingdom to consult with them as to the best way to make the prince wise and clever. They talked the matter over for a year and a day. It was the unanimous opinion of the wise men of the kingdom that the lad should be sent on a journey through many lands. In this way, he might learn many of the things which his teachers had not been able to teach him out of books. Accordingly, the prince was equipped for his journey. He was given fine garments, a splendid black horse upon which to ride, and a great bag full of money. Thus prepared, he started forth from the palace one bright morning, with the blessing of the king his father and of all the wise men of the kingdom. The prince journeyed through many lands. In one country he learned one thing, and in another country he learned another thing. There was no country or kingdom so small or poor that it did not have something to teach the prince. And the prince, though he had been so insufferably stupid at his books, learned the lessons of his journey with an open mind. After long wanderings, the prince arrived at a city where there was an auction going on. A singing bird was being offered for sale. "What is the special advantage of this singing bird?" asked the prince. "The bird, at the command of its owner, will sing a song which will put to sleep anyone who listens to it," was the reply. The prince decided that the bird was worth purchasing. The next thing which was offered for sale was a beetle. "What is the special advantage of this beetle?" asked the prince. "This beetle will gnaw its way through any wall in the world," was the reply. The prince purchased the beetle. Then a butterfly was offered for sale. "What is the special advantage of owning this butterfly?" asked the prince. "This butterfly is strong enough to bear upon its wings any weight which is put upon them," was the answer. The prince bought the butterfly. With his bird and beetle and butterfly, he travelled on and on until he became lost in the jungle. The foliage was so dense that he could not see his way, so he climbed to the top of the tallest tree he saw. From its summit he spied in the distance what looked like a mountain. But when he journeyed near to it, he saw that it was really the wall which surrounds the land of the giants. A great giant whose head reached to the clouds stood on the wall as guard. A song from the singing bird put this guard to sleep immediately. The beetle soon had gnawed an entrance through the wall. Through this opening the prince entered the land of the giants. The very first person whom the prince saw in the land of the giants was a lovely captive princess. The opening which the beetle had made in the wall led directly to the dungeon in which she was confined. The prince had learned many things on his journey, and among the lessons he had learned was this one: always rescue a fair maiden in distress. He immediately asked what he could do to rescue the beautiful captive princess. "Oh, you can never succeed in rescuing me, I fear," replied the princess. "At the door of this palace there's a giant on guard who never sleeps." "Never mind," replied the prince. "I will put him to sleep." Just at that moment, the giant himself strode into the dungeon. He had heard voices there. "Sing, my little bird, sing," commanded the prince to a singing bird. At the first burst of melody, the giant went to sleep there in the dungeon, though he had never before taken a wink of sleep in all his life. "This beetle of mine has gnawed an entrance through the great wall which surrounds the land of the giants," said the prince to the captive princess. "To escape, we'll not have to climb the high wall." "But what about the guard who stands on top of the wall, with his head reaching up to the cloud?" asked the princess. "Will he not spy us?" "My singing bird has put him to sleep too," replied the prince. "If we hurry out, he will not yet be awake." "Oh, I have been confined here in this dungeon so long that I fear I have forgotten how to walk," said the princess. "Never mind," replied the prince. "My butterfly will bear you upon his wings." With the lovely princess borne safely upon the butterfly's wings, the prince swiftly escaped from the land of the giants. The giant on the wall yawned in his sleep as they looked up at him. "He is good for another hour's nap," remarked the prince. The prince returned to his father's kingdom as soon as he could find the way back. He took with him the lovely princess and the singing bird and the gnawing beetle and the strong winged butterfly. His father and all the people of the kingdom received him with great joy. "Never again will the prince of our kingdom be called stupid," said the wise men when they heard the account of his adventures. With his singing bird and his gnawing beetle and his strong winged butterfly, he has become the cleverest youth in the land. Let's take a journey with A Fairy in Flight, written by storyteller Kathy Lichty. Once upon a time, in a lovely little glen in a valley, nestled up against the Rocky Mountains, there was a fairy village. The fairies in the village were responsible for taking care of the trees, flowers, and shrubs throughout the valley. Now, fairies have a special understanding of growing things, and they take their work very seriously. In this village, there lived a young fairy by the name of Sila. Sila worked hard to care for the plants and growing things in her assigned area of the valley. Sila spent every day walking to her area of plants, tending the plants and walking back. Other fairies would fly to their assigned area, spend some time on the plants, and then fly off to have fun doing things with their fairy friends. But Sila couldn't fly. Sila was born with one normal wing and one wing that was very tiny and never grew much bigger. So she could manage just barely to get into the air, but then she just went around in small circles like a person rowing a boat with only one oar. That was why she always had to walk to and from her plant area. Flying was such an important part of fairies' lives that other fairies never thought to try and include her in any of their activities or games. So Sila was the loneliest of fairies. One day, Sila was tending to her plants when a little piece of fluff floated in front of her and landed on the leaf she was tending. When she looked closely at that little piece of fluff, she saw that it had a tiny little seed attached. Sila looked behind her to track the path of the fluff. She couldn't tell anything at first, but as she looked, a little breeze went by, and when the breeze moved the branches of a cottonwood tree in front of her, an explosion of fluff balls erupted from the tree. Seela was delighted to watch this puff of fluff balls catch the breeze and begin to float in the air and scatter over the area. "Oh," she thought, "this is how the cottonwood scatters its seeds so more cottonwood trees can grow." She watched the little seeds dangle from the fluff balls and slowly settle to the ground. "What a lovely sight," she thought, "and what fun for the seeds to fly that way." She was envious of the seeds, that they could fly, but she could not. It did look like such fun. As she watched, an idea began to form. What if she caught a hold of one of those fluff balls? Maybe she could fly, just like the seeds. She would have to make herself small. She could do that with some fairy magic. She would have to make herself very light. She could also do that using some fairy magic. Then she could fly just like a seed. Oh, but first she had to get up into the branches of the tree. She began to climb the tree. She could pull herself along pretty well with her hands and feet. Occasionally she would use her wing to get just a bit of lift to rise to a higher branch. As she got higher, she had to make herself smaller and lighter so that the branches would not bend under her weight. She climbed way up to the very tips of the tall branches. She looked around and found a fluff ball with a seed attached. The seed was just barely still attached to the tree, waiting for the right breeze to come along. She spotted another one, thinking she might need to hold on to two to handle the extra weight. She knew she would only have an instant to grab the seed and fluff ball just as the breeze broke it loose from the tree. She waited, alert and ready to jump. Now, she grabbed the end of one fluff ball in each hand as they began to lift in the wind, and then she was flying. Whee! It was so wonderful as she floated through the air, so quiet, so easy, so high. But she didn't drop. She floated slowly, gently to the ground and made a soft landing in the petals of a rose of Sharon bush. When Seela landed, she let out her breath. She realized she had been holding her breath for the whole ride. Then she looked around. She was alive. She was safe, and she had flown. She could not wait to do it again. Seela made herself normal size again and ran back to the cottonwood tree as fast as her legs could take her. Then she repeated her climb and her flight. Oh, she loved it. All the rest of the afternoon, she flew again and again and again. Finally, when the sun started to set and the breeze died down, Seela walked back to the village and home. She had a secret smile on her face, and her thoughts were still flying in the breeze. The next day, Seela hurried through her chores of tending the plants. As soon as she could, she headed to the cottonwood tree. To her surprise, there was another fairy standing at the base of the tree when she arrived. Seela wasn't sure what to think. "Hello," she said. "Hello, my name is Violet, like the flower. What's your name?" asked the fairy. "My name is Sila. What are you doing here? This is my area to tend," said Sila. "Oh, I know that. I saw you yesterday, floating from the fluff balls. You landed in one of the rows of sharon bushes in my area. I saw you get big and then run back to this tree. I followed you to see what you were doing." Sila didn't know what to say or how to react. She thought that maybe she was in some sort of trouble. "I watched you climb up the tree and catch a ride on another fluff ball. It looked like such fun. Do you think I could do it with you today?" Sila was dumbfounded. No one had ever asked to join her in anything. She couldn't speak just for a moment, and then she stammered, Well, sure, I guess. Just do what I do." Then Sila started her climb up into the cottonwood tree with Violet right behind her. Sila instructed Violet when to start getting smaller and lighter, and then directed her into the high branches where some fluff balls were just ready to break off. She explained how to wait for the breeze to catch the fluff ball and to grab hold just as it took flight. Together they waited. Together they grabbed for a fluff ball, and together they floated through the air. Violet squealed with joy. Sila returned the squeal. Then they squealed together as they floated through the air and down into a patch of clover. When they both made themselves return to normal size, Violet jumped up and down and hugged Sila, making her jump up and down too. "Oh, that was such fun! Do you do that every day?" asked Violet. "Let's do it again." As Violet turned back toward the cottonwood tree, she flapped her wings to rise into the air, ready to fly back to the tree. That was when she noticed Sila's tiny wing and realized why Sila was still standing on the ground. Violet dropped to the ground. Then she took a hold of Sila's hand. "Let's walk," Violet said. Sila and Violet spent all the rest of the day floating from the tree and walking back. At the end of the day, Violet walked back to the village with Sila. When they got to Sila's house, Violet gave Sila a big hug. "Thanks for the great day. We are going to be great friends, I can just tell. Bye," called Violet as she walked away toward her own home. Sila walked into her house for the second day in a row with a secret smile on her face. Well, which one of these stories did you love the most? Don't forget to check our blog posts where you can find some discussion questions and background information on our featured Story of the Month. Just go to www.journeywithstory.com and click on the blog tab. You can see the link in our episode notes too. Here's to stories that help us all to live life more joyfully, compassionately and creatively. Cheerio then. Join me next time for Journey with Story. Music and post-production was by Colette Jonas.